Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Thanks for the Primo Karen story, OP. Next time you see her in her parking lot, get your car and park in front of her driveway. But I hope you never see her again. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Neighbor who thinks he owns the town got arrested. Okay, so this isn't a recent story and occurred during the pandemic. A few things to note. My next-door neighbor is the wealthiest person in the neighborhood as far as we know. Before the pandemic, he was a reasonable guy, and I never had a problem with save one party that got a little out of control. But for context, I'll start this story before that day. The neighbor, who we'll call Jack, lives in the house next door to mine with his long-term girlfriend. Let's call her Stacy. She's a gem of a person. Since before my father-in-law gave his house to my wife, he would hold crazy parties at his house. These parties would happen every weekend. He invited us to one when we moved in, and we wanted to be polite, but it wasn't our thing, so we politely declined. He was still a reasonable guy and would say, "Come on, we'll have a blast." But the wife and I would use our kids as an excuse and politely decline. He converted the first floor of his house into a nightclub, complete with indoor swimming pool. One party will always stick out to me as the day we saw a tow truck remove a car from a brick wall. The driver was okay, but the party itself was massive. It looked like he had invited the whole town. The next day, he asked me if I would help him move a couch. The couch was thrown into the pool. I helped, and we had a laugh about it. As I said, even with some of the wildest parties, not a bad guy. He at one point helped me clear out some trees that fell in the woods behind our house. It was the pandemic that caused him to go off the deep end. My town was spared the worst of the pandemic. The schools shut down before the orders from the state. Many businesses did the same. Jack, however, did not stop his partying. His parties were shut down several times until one day it looked like the entire police force showed up. They arrested everyone. They were all let go, but the parties were over and the good, fun-loving guy was gone. He organized a protest with his friends and got a bunch of others who hated masks and went to the town hall. It was closed and they tried the county office. For some unknown reason, they went after a supermarket and harassed the workers. I think it was on Facebook and YouTube, but I may be confusing it with other such protests. Why these people chose to harass grocery stores is beyond me. Well, he ended up getting arrested again. We were still on speaking terms at this point. That would change when he and a buddy of his decided to race their overpriced cars through the town. We got into a heated argument about it, and he took offense when I pointed out that the only reason he isn't in jail is that he's rich. Not my proudest moment. More recent events include calling the police on anyone that's having work done on their house, calling the police when anyone parks on the street, sending lawyers to town hall to disrupt the meetings, and most recently parking 10 junk cars on the street with flat tires, wrapping a chain around a piece of construction equipment, and putting up a very vulgar sign. Oh, and his girlfriend usually comes over to apologize for his actions. I'm surprised that she hasn't broken up with him. She's the one to apologize for his actions and will offer to pay for any damages. They're still together from what I know, but I haven't seen her in a few weeks. My neighbor is the pinnacle of the entitled rich a-hole, in my opinion. And our second story. The smart way. A long time ago, I worked at a big box store, pulling boxes off trucks, stacking them on pallets, and sending the pallets out to the sales floor to stock. It was hot, tiring, and not particularly fun, but they paid me, so that was good enough. I had a coworker that those of us in the warehouse like to call Crackhead. Crackhead wasn't really a bad guy, but his choice of vice was really beginning to affect those around him. Unfortunately, he had an industrious get-her-done attitude, which management absolutely loved. If a supervisor told him to run headfirst into a brick wall, he'd do it with a smile, which I suppose isn't all that bad either, at least as far as management's concerned, except charging headfirst into a brick wall was his go-to strategy. If the boxes on the beat-up conveyor belt got stuck, his solution was to shove as hard as he could, slamming the boxes into each other until something broke or fell off and everything started moving again. Of all the breakage we experienced that wasn't broken in transit, 90% of it was from Crackhead. We lost gallons of paint because he wanted to know what the bottom of the paint box looked like. We lost a case of shampoo because he opened it to see what it smelled like and dropped it on the cement. We even lost our lunch hour once because he somehow broke the time clock so we couldn't clock in or out for lunch and told management that everybody had totally taken lunch already. And oh man, those guys are so lazy. They want 2 lunch breaks. There were many other incidents in roughly the same vein, if you'll pardon the pun, but Crackhead was beloved by management and could do no wrong, so all complaints were immediately dropped in the circular filing cabinet beside their desks. He never did more than a few dollars of damage at a time, so there was never enough to really get him in trouble. Now, this all took place in the summer. That means that not only was it hot, but there was a whole bunch of summer items coming in. Summer items tend to be bulky, badly stacked, and generally a pain to get out of the trucks. Plastic swimming pools, bicycles, outdoor toys and mesh bags, grills and pallets of 12 packs of soda, birdseed, pool chemicals, charcoal. The number of trucks coming in doubled to handle the influx. Everyone was hot, irritated, and tired, including the managers. Crackhead, of course, cheerfully screwed everything up and made everyone's job harder. Other coworkers were grumbling about him, but there was nothing we could do. One night we had 3 trucks. We finished the first, then most of the second, then went to lunch. Well, I say we, Crackhead always stayed behind to do more work, leaving for lunch just before our lunch hour was done. After lunch, we came back to finish the second truck, then opened the third truck. Lo and behold, it was an easy truck, mostly pre-stacked pallets of lawn chairs and other palleted stuff. That meant a few minutes' work with pallet jacks instead of hauling individual boxes out by hand. Hooray! However, the first row was 2 pallets of soda stacked on top of 2 more pallets of soda. No shrink wrap, no cardboard sides, just floor-to-ceiling 12 packs. And all we had was our hands and just a few pallet jacks designed to lift a pallet a few inches off the ground at best. Luckily, a manager was walking by and offered to get one of the big pallet lifters to unstack it. As the manager left, Crackhead came back. He looked at the truck, then at us, slacking off. Suddenly, I realized this was the moment. My revenge for all that wasted time, broken stuff, and general irritation snapped into place. I caught the attention of a coworker, looked down at the pallet jack he was leaning on, then slowly dragged my gaze to Crackhead. My coworker grinned and pushed the pallet jack gently in Crackhead's direction, handle first. Perfect. Stepping between Crackhead and the jack, I said, "We're just waiting around for manager to get the big lift. We can't get those pallets out." Crackhead, ever ready to prove we were lazy, saw the jack. He grabbed it, eager to show us up, and declared, "Ha! We don't need that. Why don't we just do this the smart way?" He slammed the pallet jack under one of the double-stacked pallets of soda, jacked it up to its full height, then pushed it backwards into the truck for a good run-up. It didn't move because there were pallets behind it, but that didn't stop Crackhead, and neither did we. I was committed to this revenge, and, well, everyone else liked watching train wrecks. Crackhead yanked the pallet jack to the left, bumping it up over the lip between the truck and the warehouse. The looming 12-pack swayed. Another coworker started to open his mouth, but stopped. Crackhead, with a mighty heave, yanked the pallet jack the other way, attempting to bump it the rest of the way free, and it would have worked if it were a pallet of lawnmowers or shelf sets or even bags of pool salt. Alas, it was not. The upper pallet swayed, then toppled sideways, bouncing off the pallet beside it and dumping the entire top pallet and most of the lower pallet to the floor. The second pallet, shoved by the falling cases, lost a corner, dumping yet more 12 packs to the cement floor. Cardboard boxes ripped open. Cans cracked open and started shooting soda in all directions. Cans spun across the floor, propelled by carbonation, spraying soda in chaotic rainbows. One can dramatically rolled to a stop just in front of the manager and gently dribbled on his shoe. Crackhead turned and saw the manager. "Oh, hey, I think we're gonna need a mop." The manager very, very carefully stepped through the fizzing carnage until he was directly beside Crackhead. Quietly, he asked, "What happened?" Crackhead looked in stoner wonder at the orange, brown, purple, and green cans that littered the floor. "Oh man, it fell over." He nodded thoughtfully as if this were a deep philosophical problem rather than a couple $100 in damage. The manager said something very quietly to Crackhead, then led him out towards the offices. The rest of us cleaned up the mess, pulled the rest of the pallets from the last truck, finished up, and went home. The next day, Crackhead wasn't there. The day after that, a different manager told us that Crackhead wasn't going to be returning. You see, after any incident involving equipment such as a pallet jack, everyone involved is required to take a drug test. Nobody said anything, but something tells me Crackhead failed his. And bonus, our store manager called the distribution warehouse and chewed them out for stacking the pallets so badly we couldn't get them out. The rest of the summer, we didn't get a single double-stacked pallet. And our last story. Karen thinks she's entitled to my house's parking space. I came home from a party and saw a car blocking my house's park space. I say my house's, I don't have a license yet, so it's both of my parents' park space. This is not a new occurrence. I see this car blocking all the time. This time, though, the person who owns the car is inside it. Usually, I don't like confrontation, but this was too annoying not to confront. So I went up to her and said, "Excuse me, you can't park here." She rolled down her window and with the most Karenish voice I've ever heard, she said, "What?" Me. First of all, don't shout at me. Secondly, you can't park here. Karen. Why not? Me. Because this is a private space. Karen. But I'm not in the parking space. Me. But you're blocking it. Karen. No, I'm not. Me. Yeah, you are. Karen. No, I'm not. Go now. Me, realizing this is going nowhere, will just repeat the same thing. Me. All right, you can't park here. Go away. Karen. I'm not. Go away. Me. All right, you can't park here. Karen. I can. This is harassment. I'm not blocking anything. Me. All right, you can't park here. Karen. I'll call the police. I'm not blocking anything. At this point, I saw I could just scare her away. Me. All right, I'm not blocking anything. We'll see how this holds up in court. Karen. You should learn to respect your elders. Me. I don't care. Karen. Yeah, it's obvious. Learn some manners. Me. Yeah, okay. I pull out my phone, going behind her car, acting like I'm taking a picture of her license plate. Karen. How dare you? You can't do that. Me. Yeah, okay. Karen gets scared and drives away. Haven't seen the car since. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.